Shaykhna, they try to change the color of their hair. They try to change the way they talk. They try to change the way they dress. Even some of them have changed their names. Muhammad changed it to something else.
Mo.
Ali to something else. Ja'far, Ja'far شنو؟
Jeffrey.
Jacob or Jeffrey على قولتك. So يعني it's become a difficulty to try to speak to them because that's it, it's shut off. They're trying to be and you know the problem is they have no more connection with their mother's country. So you have the Iraqis, don't go back to Iraq. Why? All bombs, always scared, all this, all that. Lots of them, by the way. Not all of them go to Arba'in every year. As you said, his name was Ja'far, he's become Jeffrey. Oh, but who's Jeffrey? Jeffrey was the butler in The Fresh Prince. Who is Jeffrey? But this has become the problem. They've lost their identity, a lot of them. And I'm dealing with this situation with these specific youths that I told you about. I mean, what would you do?
Yeah, I have seen this trend. I call it filtration or dilution, rather, of religion, where in the attempt to assimilate and to be accepted in society, what they do is their Islamic identity, the Shia identity, is being sacrificed. Essentially, it's about how I'm going to be approved or how I'm going to be part of the process. So unfortunately, what happens is that you get individuals who are simply there to please others in society. And the last thing in their mind...
others, please everyone.
Yeah.
The problem is...
Exactly.
You can't please everyone, Shaykhna.
Of course.
They're trying to please their mother, they pray in front of her. Then they go out to school where people laugh at people who pray, then they stop praying because they're trying to please their friends. Then they go I don't know where. At the end of the day, they're going to go to places that has drugs in them because they are trying to please specific people. You can't live like that.
Yeah.
But how do you...
Well, I think,
how do you be proud of who you are?
Yeah.
Especially when, since the year 2001 till today, every single day in some sort of journalism, Islam is being attacked.
Yeah,
Nobody
we've
wants
been
to
the
be Muslim
victims of
anymore.
Islamophobia, especially us Shias. We've been the victims of terrorism and Islamophobia. So,
And we're not even near this stuff.
we're far away. It's a test, and I think this is being part of the Ahl al-Bayt's followers. We expect bala, and that's from the Ahl al-Bayt themselves. They said, be ready for hardship and trials and tribulations. So I was in America a few weeks ago, and I was with a group of youth, and we were discussing a few things like this, and challenges that they're facing and stuff like that. So they said one of the difficulties they have is that when they're with their friends, non-Muslim friends, they try to be as much as possible like them. So, for example, he said, I'm in the car. They put on loud haram music. They're like, it's very difficult for me to say to them, can you lower it? Or we're somewhere where there's alcohol and we sit with them in the same table and so on and so forth. But when we come to mosque, they said, when we come to the Husayniyah, we're as Shia as you can get. We're very, we do everything. So I said, there is a there's a double life you're leading. There is a massive identity crisis amongst the youth. They don't know who they really are. When they are with certain people, they try to adapt like them. When they are with others, they're trying to be accepted by part of the community, and so on.
What's the solution? Because I'm finding it very difficult. Once they've rejected, that's it. It's become like a block.
Yeah. First thing to note is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a wonderful prescription in the Quran, a powerful statement that must be understood and thought about. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says there is something called izzah, dignity, honor, power. This izzah, He says, فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ جَمِيعًا. To Allah belongs this dignity, this honor, this sense of pride that we have. And Allah then says in the Quran, فَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah then gives this izzah to His messenger and to the believers. So, there is that, first of all, sense of self-worth, sense of self-belonging as part of Iman and faith. People have to understand it's not a simple thing to be called a mu'min. It's not a simple thing to be called a believer. Somebody from the followers, for example, of the Ahl al-Bayt. Beautifully, the Quran says, وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنْتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Don't be sad, don't be grieved. You are higher. You're the highest if you're truly believers. That means identify yourself as believers and you'll see wonders. There are people who stood firm and made their identity absolutely crystal clear, and their legacy lives on till today.
Of course.
Sayyida Fatima salamullahi
Salamullahi
alayha, when
alayha.
she stood in the Prophet's mosque and in the khutbah known as Fatakiyya, she said, أيها الناس اعلموا أني فاطمة وأن أبي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Know that I am Fatima. I'm not worried. I'm not afraid of my identity. I am Fatima and my father is Prophet. And I don't say anything except the truth. Look at Sayyida Zainab salamullahi alayha in the courtyard of Yazid. She, full determination, courage, valor, dignity, honor. She goes and stands and says, فَكِدْ كَيْدَكْ وَسَعِي سَعْيَكْ وَنَاصِبْ جُهْدَكْ فَوَاللَّهِ لَا تَمْحُ ذِكْرَنَا وَلَا تُمِيتَ وَحْيَنَا. You can do whatever you want, you can plot, you can manipulate, but by God you'll never obliterate our name or remove our love from the hearts of the people. And then of course earlier in Kufa she says, مَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. Everything is beauty, because she is powerful as a personality due to her association with God. The more one is associated with Allah, the higher and the more power they get.
The more that they realize that they're slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the reason I use the word slaves is because I feel people have become so materialistic that they've become slaves to materialistic things. I'm now a slave to my job. I'm a slave to money. I'm a slave to fame. And when you become a slave to anything apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you fall.
Beautiful.
But when you leave all of these and you submit yourself as only a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your level goes higher. In terms of piety and in terms of everything that you do in your life. You reach a higher status. Even people will look at you in a different sense. And even in the Western world, I've realized when I'm out with my wife, somebody tries to shake her hands and she says, sorry, I don't. They'll straight away respect that. They won't like, oh, why? No, they'll respect. This is the woman. This is what her faith is. I can't say anything about that.
Yeah, you're absolutely
Well,
right. These
you have to be-
shackles, there's a lot of shackles
Yes.
of enslavement, and by being strong and tawakkul on Allah and powerful, one breaks these shackles, and it's a matter of liberation. You see, a lot of our youth are struggling with this idea of faith because
It's culture.
it's culture and it's peer pressure. The peer pressure is so tremendously detrimental, because what it's doing, peer pressure, is forcing them to distance themselves from faith. This idea of dilution of Iman and Deen, diluted to the extent that it's necessary. I'll keep my name, I'll just pray in the corner, I won't speak about Islam, I won't tell people what I do. Like example, Shahr Ramadan. The month of Ramadan, you're at a workplace. It's such a wonderful opportunity to speak to people about this practice, this self-discipline and so on. People ask, oh, you're fasting 19 hours. So there's two ways to respond. One way is, tell me about it. I don't know how I'm doing it. You can only see, I'm dying. I've seen people say, I'm dying. Whereas the right way to say it is, you should try it. It's amazing. It's made me a better person. When I say no, when I could see food and I want to eat it, and I know God's watching me, it makes me strong. It's made me strong from within.
Yeah.
And that means I'm not going to fall into temptations. I'm not going to do what I'm not supposed to do. And it makes people think, my brother at work is a pharmacist, and he said he did that. He spoke to a friend of his, and the next day or a few days later, his friend said, I'm fasting today. Non-Muslim. It's like, why? It's like, I want to see how it is, because you told me that it's so positive, so amazing.
In terms of fasting, I told a friend of mine who's Jamaican about fasting. All I told him is we fast and this, and he knows all about Muslims. And the next day he came to me with an article about the benefits of fasting, and he gave me another article about a person who his fasting cured his cancer. It meant a lot to me. I was like, wow, just a couple of things here and there, and this guy's totally changed. Well, not really changed, but his interest made me learn more about fasting myself.
Absolutely.
And I think that is something key. Don't shy away. And when I said it's culture, it's people here, for example, my generation, they don't know if they're Iraqi, they don't know if they're English. The English people are not accepting them because they're trying too hard to be Iraqi. When they go to Iraq, the Iraqis won't accept them because they're trying too hard to show, look, by the way, England, this and that. So it's very difficult.
It's
But
difficult.
Nothing is impossible.
But
Sheikh. And you need to be really strong. When I
Yes.
go to Iraq, yes, I speak to people. I do love this country. It is the country of my forefathers. It has meaning to me. But at the same time, accept me that I was born in London, I've lived my whole life in London, and that also has a meaning to me. And it's this, and vice versa. Do you know what I mean?
By the way, this identity crisis or clash needs to be explained to our brothers and sisters in that there isn't really a clash. You can be a good
Shia
British
Muslim.
Shia
British.
Muslim
Yeah.
who respects the law of the land, who is a good citizen, who is harmonious with his environment, who respects everyone else of other faiths, who gives a good image of Islam and Muslims, and also pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With that, it's a wonderful package. It's not that, oh, I want to be a good Muslim, but that doesn't go with British values. No, you can be, and it's appreciated, and alhamdulillah, we're in a society that they appreciate discipline. You know, they like when somebody is focused on what they want to achieve. But I am concerned as well with the idea of the hijab element too. So in this recent times, we've had these catwalks, fashion shows with hijab.
Yeah.
We've had a sister who wears hijab deciding to go on this magazine,
That magazine.
you know, that very inappropriate, misogynistic, haram
There's a reason
magazine.
for that, by the way. I don't know if I told you this. I had a friend who was working in a specific think tank, and he told me, specifically for the hijab issue, they were thinking up of ways of how to battle hijab in the West, because they saw the more they would forcefully try to remove a woman's hijab, the more she would wear her hijab better and better and better. Suddenly it's become a burqa or whatever, or abaya.
It's defiance.
Yes. So they've already got enough rebels to deal with. They said, let's take it from the other aspect. Hijab, that's cool. So suddenly it's gone back to here, then it's gone back to here, then it's gone back to here, until afterwards you're going to think. And they had this really nice video coming out of a hijabi on a skateboard, and a hijabi doing this, and a hijabi doing that, and suddenly you see hijabi makeup tutorials and whatnot.
Ooh.
And that is just like, what do you think hijab is? A piece of cloth?
It's lost its value. The ethos of hijab is
Of course,
to,
by the way, nobody wants two fellas talking about this.
of
Because
course,
apparently we don't understand or whatever. But
that's
the-
also a
the
challenge.
fact
I mean,
is-
we're not judging people. Let's be
No, but
honest.
let's be honest.
It's not about judgment.
This
it's
is
about
the great thing about women,
Mm.
that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen them to wear the taj of Islam, which is this hijab,
the crown
to
of
represent
Islam. Yeah.
Islam, because maybe they know women are better than men, you know what I mean?
Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen them to reward them greater. And,
And
the
that's why
Quran
they're
says
mothers,
they're
that's why they're the-
ambassadors. They're ambassadors.
They're the best, right? So it's not an attack on women, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to be one of those people who are scared to talk about bad hijab and what it's doing to our society.
See, we have to
Because
understand
if
what.
I have daughters in the future, forgive me, I cut you off.
No, astaghfirullah.
It's very important for me that they don't look at these people as role models, because when they look at, for example, Victoria Beckham or one of those, non-Muslims as role models, it's easy for me to reply, Habibi, Daddy, these are non-Muslims. Okay, fine. But when it's Muslims doing it, like, Daddy, these are Muslims. But Daddy, they're not, no, but they're Muslims. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have that argument with your child, and it's going to become very difficult.
Yeah. I think what's important, the reason why there's been this barrage of shows to portray a hijabi like everyone else, is the fact that we've missed the point of hijab. Hijab is to remove attraction, is to not to draw people towards the person, you see. That idea, and to protect them as well. But with these kind of things, apparently recently people are telling me there is a music video full of hijabis done by a Muslim band group, which the hijabis move in a very provocative, very wrong way. There was a controversy, I remember recently in Birmingham, where a hijabi sister unfortunately was, in the street with a few others and did a dance provocatively, which was very inappropriate.
But that was on social media.
On social media, and then newspapers reported it and so on, and then later she said, I shouldn't have done it. But the problem there is that we're missing the point. We're not understanding what hijab is all about. Now, some people might say, but I want to be like everyone else. This is not about being like everyone else. This is about having boundaries and restrictions by Allah, who knows best for us, and we have submitted. Submitted means Muslim. Muslim is someone who has submitted to the law of Allah, which is best for them. And this gives them a lot of immense spiritual reward now and in the hereafter. So why is there that pressure then to conform to society and values which are anti-Islamic? That's the question.
Because we are an anti-Islamic society, and it's the easy option. See, somebody told it to me once. He's like, it's not a matter of doing right and wrong. It's a matter of doing right and easy. And that's the truth of it. You know you're doing wrong, but it's the easy thing. Shaykhna, it's very difficult to swim against the current.
Yes.
But it's not impossible with the right things around you. People hand in hand with you, building a big boat and swimming on that against the current becomes easier. So us as a community, we do have a problem that I have to say. When we do see a sister whose hijab gets a bit messy,
We jump into conclusions straight
not
away
only
and attack
conclusions,
her.
we start to talk about it in the wrong,
Yeah.
derogative way, this negativity. And you know, in the past few weeks, we've been touching upon positivity and stuff. Really, we need to support them. We need to show what the right thing is. See, this is one of the things that I remember, especially when we were doing majalis back in the day. If a majlis would happen at the same time as our majlis or something like that, or there's a specific speaker we didn't like, I always used to tell people, don't attack other majalis. Don't attack other speakers. If you think you're in the right, create an alternative. Show them what you believe is the right thing. And that's the thing that I understood from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. They've asked us to show people what they're about. The person who chooses us, very good. The person who doesn't as well, I'm not going to go hit him or something like that. But do your part. Create the alternative. Show what your belief is. That's my opinion. What do you think of that?
I agree. I think there's so much out there that can be done with a positive mindset, but also with self-belief and conviction. In regards to the pressure that some of our youth, you said, we're swimming against the tide and things like that. I think what we need is a very strong community spirit. And this belonging to the community is so important. Where do you turn to? If, for example, this sister of ours, she's with a few friends who are non-hijabi sisters, non-hijabi friends of hers, non-Muslims, and they're pressurizing her, do this, put makeup on, walk in a particular way, do, whatever you want to do. She needs to turn to people who can give her that support. She needs to be able to kind of feel part of a system, part of a community. And that is where I believe that our centers, our leaders, scholars have to be able to do a lot
have
more.
to be more proactive.
Yeah, to reach out. And I think it can do, thank you, Ahsan. They can really be in the right mindset as well, not to immediately judge people and to somehow make them part of outside the faith because they've done this.
If you attack, they're either going to defend or going to say, okay, thank you, bye.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's like opening up a shop. Once you're rude to the customers, because these people are in need of guidance, right? They'll just go to the next door. And next door might have the easy, quick fix solution, which is take your hijab off.
That's
for
right.
example.
If you don't
So we have a responsibility. Yeah, we can sit here and we can talk about these people, but listen, people like me and you, we do have responsibility to help these people, but at the same time, we can only help who wants to be helped, and that's something I truly believe in. I've seen a lot of scholars, or not only scholars, community leaders, run after people in the community to try to help them, but they didn't want to be helped. And as long as they didn't want to be helped, you just can't help them. But people who want to be helped, I think there are people to help them in our community. I do think we have a strong community, especially here in London. I can speak about London. I think we have a big community, mashallah. I think we have a strong community as well. Good people like yourself, for example, and I know your door is always open in the mu'assasa, in the foundation, for someone to come knock it and talk to you.
Yeah, no,
I
think
mean,
there are
my,
people.
My,
there
my
are.
wife bought a person who was interested in Islam once.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
To you.
It was a fantastic discussion that she was. This sister highlighted a very key point, which is, I think, pertinent to this discussion. And she was French. She is a new Muslim, a revert Muslim, But the
The fact
problem,
that she was French, I was astounded.
yes, especially after what's happened. But this is how it is. After an event like this, people ask about Islam and so on and so forth. But her concern was that she was going to few, a mosque in particular of our brothers from the other schools, but she was constantly being told, "Don't ask." You know, this. She was challenging some of the things, and she was basically told, "Don't go there." You know, as in, don't even start asking these questions. So you're wondering why I can't ask as a person who's just come to the faith. The thing is that this brings us to a very critical point as far as dignity, identity, about strength of character is concerned. The role of parents, community leaders must be in the area that they should be sitting there and dealing with these challenges in workshops, trips, camps, things like that, discussion circles, Q&As, so important. But not just to dismiss people's thoughts and concerns. Some of the youth, they're like, you know, we never have these programs to discuss these things. We never have opportunities to ask. And if they don't, then they'll have to assimilate. By the way, we actually, sorry to cut you, we actually encourage integration, but not necessarily assimilation.
Yeah.
Integration is
100%.
good. We should not cocoon ourselves and isolate ourselves in mosques. We encourage this idea of inviting people of other faiths into the centers and empowering the youth to do it. Alhamdulillah, some of the youth are taking it in their own
100%.
hands and initiatives to actually do this. But it doesn't mean I'm going to copy exactly what others do so that they pat me on the back and they say, well done, you're part of us and you're one of us.
When I was in Najaf, I spoke to some of the thinkers in Najaf that you know, and they told me, you can't keep coming back to us in not on the fiqh sense, in terms of how to live your life in a cultural sense. You go out there and you create the British Shia culture. Because right now, he pointed to me, he's like, you've got a British Iraqi Shia culture. This brother, for example, has a British Pakistani Shia culture. No, find the British Shia culture, and that will help you live your life. And I really respected that.
True.
In terms of what you were saying, and this was something very thought-provoking, and to give you proof of how much of a good student I am, in the year 2013, in one of the mu'assasat, you gave a lecture. It was the event of Mubahala, and you said the difference between us and other school of thoughts, and we learn it from the story of Mubahala is قُلْ تَعَالَوْا, and we will communicate with you. We don't turn away. We don't say don't ask questions. No, you have a question, come to me. And I even remember in my mind when you were saying it, you did that kind of movement, and I remember how powerful that lecture was. By the way, see, nobody remembers your lectures like me. That's not
Thank
bad,
you so
is it?
much.
I even remember the date.
You're hired.
Thank you. For what?
We'll discuss that later.
Okay.
Something.
Okay, excellent. So that is something very key. The fact that we're so confident to tell people, come, we'll answer your questions, come, shows that, look, we have an identity and we're proud of it. And that's why I encouraged a lot of the youth who are studying, even if they go to Najaf, come back and wear the gown. Me personally, you know what my thoughts and views are. I like the turban, I like the gown. And I like to see it even in London in public when people are walking around. Why? Because this is our culture, this is something very nice. Let people come and ask, why are you wearing this?
Yes.
Let people know what this is. Why do you think I
Absolutely.
wear, for example, sometimes the crown of the Sada
Yeah.
when I'm going out in majalis and stuff? People have asked me, what's this red and green hat you're wearing? Because I'm proud of it. It's my heritage, it's my culture, and through it I can talk about religion and stuff.
I agree. And you know, on that point, when we are at universities, some of our youth, when they're at universities, get your Shia identity absolutely clear. Don't be scared.
No.
Go to the prayer room, and if you don't necessarily want to pray on a turba, pray on a piece of paper. Explain to people why you do it. Don't hide. And even when it comes to non-Muslims, don't say, oh, I've got something to do. Say to them, I'm going to go and pray. There's no one that's going to harm you.
Not in this
Even if
country
they
anyway.
exactly here I'm saying, even if they're going to intimidate you, even if you feel pressurized by some people who are hardliners within the
Don't.
Muslim ummah, there is no need to do
Let
that.
that be the one message you learned from Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
Salaam Allah.
Intimidated by nobody.
Absolutely.
This point, by the way, about in the prayer rooms, I believe this is what respect is. Where I can go into a prayer room and pray like this, and a brother next to me can pray like this, and we're happy. Not the fact that's respect. Respect is not because I'm in a specific environment, I have to go in and pray like this. That's not respect. That's when you lose it. You know what I mean? Be confident. I'm not affecting him. He's not affecting me. I respect him. He respects me. And we pray the way that we want. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's such a lovely spirit to have. The moment we start hiding our heads, underneath the sand and trying to somehow run away from our faith, it's concerning, because our youngsters, the future generations, they want us to set the scene for them. Alhamdulillah, our fathers, they've come here, they've established a lot of things for us, centers and so on. It is up to us to carry the flag, but more in the sense of making sure that the identity is well preserved. Like, for example, the salah issue. Some people say, I don't know, people might think I'm a bit crazy if I pray at work or if I pray in my office or somewhere, and can I just make it up later? I say to them, first of all, jurisprudentially it's not allowed, you have to pray. But secondly, what's wrong with someone seeing you to pray and then they'll know this is the Muslim prayer? Well, they'll know this is the Muslim prayer. They're going to, later, when they see someone praying, they won't be surprised. And one day, maybe in 50 years' time, the whole of the nation will know about the Muslim prayer.
Exactly.
And they'll be fine with it. Nobody's not fine with it, by the way.
No,
but they just don't know what it is sometimes. And I think it's similar with the hijab. If the hijab 30, 40 years ago, we had scholars who would say, it's okay, you're in the West, take her off. Today we wouldn't have a single person wearing hijab.
Of course.
But they stuck to it. And alhamdulillah, today hijab is seen everywhere in the West as a symbol of piety, modesty, chastity of our
I
sisters.
say only one thing, especially when it comes to the hijab issue. Let one person bring me a picture of the Holy Virgin Mary where she's not wearing hijab. Whether it's Michelangelo or Picasso or whoever it is, find me one picture, anyone who's drawn it, of the Virgin Mary without hijab. That's a challenge, by the way. I don't think you will be able to.
No, I think it's clear that she adorned the hijab, and I think we all know that it's wajib. Unfortunately, today we have voices within certain societies that try and doubt its authenticity and its obligation. They say, oh, it's this or that, and they create this confusion in the minds of our sisters. But ultimately, it's the practice of the Ahl al-Bayt. It's the practice of the wives of the Prophet. There is no doubt about its importance. And the more we stand in this day and age when there's Islamophobia, I hear of stories of ladies' hijab being snatched off.
Or the EU law that came out.
EU law, yes, recently, that's been on the news, that basically says employers can remove all this should be more determination to keep the hijab.
Exactly.
We should not bow down to any pressures. This is our faith. We're not harming anyone. This is our civil rights to practice faith, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us more tawfiq, more blessings, more strength, and we preserve the identity, inshallah.
Sheikh, every time I talk with you, honestly, I forget myself, because I love the conversation.
Thank you
with
so much.
And going. I was gonna say, it's about time, isn't it?
I think it's a bit cloudy, but it looks like it might be salah time. I've got an idea. How about we pray outside today?
Okay, but I'm just gonna get something else to wear because it's a bit cold.
But praying under the heavens, inshallah, would be nice.
Inshallah.
Let's make our way.